introduce your question.
Thanks, Les Corla. I want to ask the Minister to give the Dáil up-to-date details of the planned purchase at a cost of €200 million of a multi-role naval vessel, particularly in view of the totally inadequate pay, allowances and conditions of employment of Defence Forces personnel and the retention and recruitment crisis currently affecting all areas of the Defence Forces, Army, Air Corps and Naval Service. Thank you.
Minister, 2 minutes.
My priority as Minister with responsibility for defence is to ensure the operational capability of the Army, the Air Corps and the Naval Service is maintained to the greatest extent possible, so as to enable the Defence Forces to carry out their roles as assigned by government both at home and overseas. As the state's principal sea-going agency and in accordance with international and domestic law, the Naval Service through its patrols undertakes a variety of functions in the maritime domain in accordance with the role in contributing to maritime security. This encompasses the provision of support to other government departments and agencies such as the Department of Transport, Tourism and Sport and in Garda Síochána, the Revenue Commissioners and the Sea Fisheries Protection Authority. The Defence Forces will continue to provide a range of supports to those bodies in accordance with its roles in aid of civil power and to the civil authority as set out in the applicable Memoranda of Understanding and the legal service agreements. In addition, the Naval Service role has undertaken additional operational requirements in the Mediterranean Sea. Further future Naval Service capabilities are being planned as part of the White Paper project planning process, which will determine the Defence Force organisation's maritime capabilities. The White Paper provides for the replacement of the current Naval Service flagship, the Elietna, with a multi-role MRV. And it is the Government's intent that this new vessel will provide a flexible and adaptive capability for a wide range of maritime tasks, both at home and overseas. The acquisition of a modern vessel will ensure that the operational capabilities of the Naval Service as the state's principal sea-going agency are maintained to the greatest extent and takes account of the overall policy approach in the White Paper on Defence. Planning has commenced to this project and it is intended to hold a public tender competition in due course to cover the supply of the MRV. The design and configuration of the vessel is being considered as part of the planning process. The Deputy has speculated the MRV will cost €200 million. However, it is the case that the cost of the MRV will only be known once the tender competition is concluded. This procurement is, of course, subject to the availability of funding within the overall defence capital spending envelope. As the budgetary position for 2019 has not yet been finalised, it would be premature for me to discuss the defence allocation in that regard. However, I remain very committed as Minister with responsibility for defence to continue to work to ensure that the financial resources are made available to the defence organisation to ensure that the required equipment and infrastructure projects proceed in a diligent manner so as to enable the Army, the Air Corps, Naval Service to carry out their various roles both at home and overseas.
Deputy Grealish has 1 minute. Or Deputy
Healy. Thanks, Minister. But again, we've got very little detail in relation to the reply as to the current situation regarding the tender process, etc. But Minister, again today and again last year in a PQ reply, you informed me that this vessel would be taking part in missions at home and abroad, that it also had a capability of carrying a full company of infantry with military equipment, landing craft and with a flight deck capable of catering for military-style helicopters, all at a cost of something in the region of €200 million. One wonders in what circumstances would members of the Irish Defence Forces be put ashore abroad? Could it be that aggressive military operations, for instance in the Mediterranean, might be foreseen in relation to this vessel? And the recent statement of President Macron of France, where he said that a new invasion of Libya should be considered. One wonders if this is something that the vessel might be involved in. However, I would ask, Minister, that in view of the current situation in relation to pay and conditions of employment of the Defence Forces, that this purchase of this ship should be cancelled, that we should scrap the purchase of it, and we should fully restore pay, pensions, allowances and conditions of employment for Defence Forces personnel, and retain and recruit and be able to retain and recruit personnel so as the seas around Ireland can be protected, so that rescue missions can be undertaken and that drug trafficking.
Minister's 1 minute.
First of all, I have been of the firm belief since my appointment that you equip members of the Defence Forces, the Naval Service and the Air Corps to the very best. And that is exactly what this government has been doing over the last number of years. And there has been significant investment to the Naval Service. And I don't see any aggressive military operation of the Defence Forces being involved in. As you fully are aware of our neutral policy, and of course what I stated in my original reply, this is only in the very early stages of planning. We have a long way to go away before we get to the tendering process, and this will of course be very much when we get to the tendering stage, that we will look at the financial envelope that is available. The White Paper provides for the replacement of the current Naval Service flagship, the Etna, with a multi-role vessel, and the Etna has now been in service for over 35 years and have been commissioned into the Naval Service in 1984. And we do need and require up-to-date equipment and infrastructure for the
Deputy Healy's final
You said this project in its early stages. Could I suggest that this is the time to scrap it in the early stages? I also wanted to refer, you referred to operations in the Mediterranean in your reply to my question. I want to put it to you that recently Médecins Sans Frontières, who have been operating a ship called Aquarius in this area, have been stopped. That under pressure from the Italian government, Panama has deregistered that ship. Now, there has been a request to the Irish government from Médecins Sans Frontières to accede to a request to register the ship under the Irish flag. I want to ask the Minister to agree to do that. This will prevent further increased drownings in the Mediterranean over the next period of time, and of course will not cost this government a penny. It simply will be a humanitarian exercise, and I hope the Minister will agree to do that. Thank you.
1 minute.
Involved in Operation Sophia and have been for quite some time. I'm very proud of the fact that the great work that members of the Irish Naval Service are doing down there in a range of different areas. And let me state that any migrants that the Naval Service pick up are brought to a European port of safety, and that has always been the case and will continue to be the case. But let me go back, Deputy, to the multi-role vessel that your original question was about. And when I say that this is in the very early preliminary stages of planning, this is not going to be, a decision on this will not be made next week or next month. I can absolutely assure you of that.
It's easier to scrap it now, Minister, at this early stage. Much easier.
I don't believe we should scrap the project. This is a commitment by government, and we will continue right up at the tendering stage. And when we get to the tendering stage, we will look at the resource envelope available to the Defence Forces. But let me say, I will make no apologies whatsoever for equipping members of the Defence Forces to the very, very best.